At this point, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to bring to you someone that all of you already know quite well. He's a native son. You've seen him for many years. You worked with him. You've enjoyed the fruits of his labors for us in Washington. And ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to present to you Congressman William Jefferson, who will introduce our speaker for this commencement. Congressman Jefferson.
Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, members of the Southern University Board of Supervisors, faculty and administrators of Southern University at New Orleans, elected officials, Southern alumni, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to this distinguished graduating class and to the families of these graduates. You should be justly proud of the sacrifices you have made and what you have achieved. We eagerly look forward to what you will accomplish in the future in your professional lives and to the special service you will give back to our communities. Again, my heartfelt congratulations. I love Southern University. It was my foundation for higher learning. Without Southern, there would have been no Harvard Law School, no Georgetown University Law Center, no chance to exercise student leadership, the training ground for elective office. Those of us who had the chance to get our start at Southern, particularly during the time that I came along, sing in full throat and with hearts filled with gratitude the words of our alma mater, "Oh, Southern, dear Southern, we owe our all to thee." And so we do. I'm proud to acknowledge it. Thank you, Southern University. Today, it is my special privilege and high honor to introduce a man who, in July of this year, a few short months from now, will be formally nominated by the Democratic Party to become the next President of the United States of America, U.S. Senator John Kerry. Senator Kerry could have delivered a commencement address this weekend virtually anywhere in America. He chose to accept the invitation extended to him by our family, particularly the Southern University at New Orleans family, to deliver the commencement address to us here in this place on this great occasion. His presence here today speaks eloquently of his commitment to the mission of Southern and historically black colleges and universities, of his desire to encourage the young people who these institutions serve, and of his belief that America will work its best when all of our people, black and white, are able to realize their highest levels of achievement. Thank you, Senator Kerry. Thank you for caring enough to come. But this is not uncharacteristic of Senator Kerry's life or his record of public service. From his early work in the 70s and 80s to end apartheid in South Africa, to his recent efforts to ensure there was no racial apartheid in the select law schools of our nation, John Kerry's record on equal opportunity has been unswerving. Senator Kerry honored us by achieving a 100% voting record with the NAACP. As a result of this unblemished record, we in the Congressional Black Caucus honored him a few years ago with one of our highest awards for his long career of keeping faith with our common aspiration of appreciating and celebrating the strength of our diversity. Senator Kerry believes in opportunity for all Americans, that we all deserve a fair shot at our dreams, that no dream should be improbable for any of us. And he believes that we are a community bound together by common hopes and common goals, and that we therefore owe each other to take some responsibility for the success of our neighbors. We all know Senator Kerry's record of courageous military service, a Silver Star, Bronze Star with Combat V, and 3 awards of the Purple Heart for service in combat in the Mekong Delta in Vietnam. We know of his courage to fight for America on the things that are right, and to question the decisions of our government when its decisions are wrong. And more importantly, he has the courage that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. displayed, the courage to turn the other cheek and to seek the peace. He's been a force on the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee, and this has made him a citizen of the world, respecting the culture and promise of people around the globe, and in turn, earning the respect of world leaders. His vision is for a world at peace with itself, with nations of the world cooperating to reduce common threats and to realize common goods. Senator Kerry's education at Yale, Boston College, and other fine institutions of learning have left him with a passion for education, not just for himself, but for all others. His values are our values: a strong faith in God, a belief in the power of the ballot and the sanctity of the right to vote, the strength of family, loyalty to friends and to public service, and a brimming optimism that our future will be far greater than our past. Furthermore, he believes that we can all get all of this done together, that we can secure the future of our great land together, black and white together, rich and not so rich together, old and young, in the North and the East, the West, and yes, here in the South, in Louisiana. We can deepen our values and better bind together and make our generation the envy of those who've gone before us and set a higher standard for those who follow us. No matter how value-driven we are, how value-laden our wagons may be, however, to live out our values and to make them real requires that our wagon be hitched to and pulled by the right leader. Senator John Kerry has displayed the high quality of unassailable leadership in abundance throughout his illustrious career. Leaders fight for the things that matter to people: good jobs, good schools, affordable, high-quality health care, human rights. These are the things Senator Kerry leads the fight for. Today, we are honored to have this man of this hour of challenge for our history and our country in our midst. Let me now present to you and commend his words to you, our highly decorated, highly honored, highly capable commencement speaker, the leader of the Democratic Party institutions of our nation, and quite probably, if I, and I suspect if some of you have a say about it, the next president of the United States of America, U.S. Senator John Kerry.
Congressman Jefferson, thank you for a generous and warm welcome to this great university, but I think all of you will join me, more importantly, in thanking him for the quality of his service and leadership to this community. Thank you very much, sir. Knights, Chancellor Robinson, President Tarver, Congressman Jefferson, distinguished members of the faculty, parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, and by far the most important thing of all, the extraordinary graduating class of 2004. I am honored to be here with you today, and I want you to know you've actually given me more power as a presidential candidate than I've had in all my time in public life, because I am all that stands between you and your degrees. But don't fear, I promise to be brief for one powerful reason: you all can vote. I was called by the chancellor, he told me that the students at Southern wanted a commencement speaker who was in public office, someone who was in amazing physical shape for his age, a man who could mesmerize with his speech while dazzling everyone with his charm. I told him I was flattered, and then he said to me, well, since you're friends with Arnold Schwarzenegger, see if he's available. Well, he wasn't, so here I am. I asked my daughter Vanessa, who is now a medical student, for help with this address. And she said, Dad, you remember college? Up 20 hours a day, grabbing some pizza and a beer whenever you can. Keep going, petrified about whether someone might call on you and you don't have the answer to a question. I said, that doesn't sound like college. That sounds like running for president of the United States. So driving here late last night from Baton Rouge, I tried to think of the most important thing that I could say to you today. And there's only one piece of advice that will really affect you over the next 24 hours. Do not forget to say Happy Mother's Day to your mom tomorrow. It can save you an enormous amount of guilt and a whole lot of pain. You know, nearly half a century ago, at one of SUNO's first commencements, one of your early presidents, Dr. Felton Clark, made it clear that he wanted to prove something to America. He said, they put us out here on this bluff, not expecting much of anything from us, but we are going to fool them. Well, SUNO long ago exceeded the expectations of cynics and doubters decade after decade. The first graduating class of 15 students donned their caps and gowns in May of 1963, just 3 months before Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. And since then, Southern University's system's distinguished alumni like Dean Millie Charles and others have they've taken their place in a long line of leaders to represent America's historically black colleges and universities. And we honor the contributions of your own Congressman William Jefferson, the first African American from Louisiana to serve in Congress since Reconstruction. Dr. Ruth Simmons, the first African American woman to earn a PhD in political science, and Dr. Charles Drew, the physician who pioneered the medical advance of saving blood plasma that in turn saves millions of lives every single day in our country and around the world. So today, class of 2004, you've got big footsteps to follow in, and much is expected of you because much has been contributed, not just in the more than 150 campuses of our nation's historically black colleges and universities, but contributed by individuals, individual Americans, individual citizens who believed that they could make a difference as individuals, and they did. The fact is that today, in our great country, there's a different kind of challenge. Because of the day-to-day effort just to focus on making ends meet, the effort to graduate that all of you have endured, as we heard a moment ago in the prayer, the struggle to find a decent job and to be able to keep it in a world where the workplace is changing and where jobs and the jobs that are being created are worth less than the ones that are gone. Because of a culture that too often puts self over community. Too many people have lost sight of a basic truth about America. It's a truth that de Tocqueville noticed in the 1800s when he wrote about America, that America is great because Americans are good, and he was talking about the contributions of individuals back to their community. The fact is that in 2004, the truth is the same. Our greatest strength, our greatest responsibility, our greatest need today in this nation is service and citizenship. Now, I know that many of you may be skeptical. I know that. I know there's a gulf between a lot of citizens and their government. I know there is particularly a gulf between young people and their leaders, with quotation marks, as they question the direction they lead and the relevancy of what they offer. I don't blame you. It's hard to find faith and to answer the call to citizenship and service when you believe or you question whether today's call to arms may just be tomorrow's broken promise. But I say to you today, with every belief, every fiber of my body, every ounce of experience of 35 years of fighting for this great country of ours, I say to you that America needs your generation to surprise those who underestimate the idealism and the commitment of young people in the United States. And just look around you. I was looking at the program a moment ago and noticing the numbers of you who have studied in social work, or the numbers of you who have studied in psychology, or the numbers of you who have studied in criminal justice. Just look around you in Louisiana, look around you in our country, and all around you to see the great challenges that matter to all of us. And these are not challenges that you can just shove aside and leave to other people or to nobody. Families are working longer and longer for less. Middle-class parents sometimes working 2 to 3 jobs in order to make ends meet and provide opportunity to children. Students, 220,000 of them dropping out of college and downsizing their dreams because they couldn't afford to go. Healthcare costs up 49% in the last 3 years. College tuition rising at about 28% over the last 3 years. Working Americans today are saddled with a new kind of deficit. It's a deficit of time. It's a deficit of quality of life. It's a deficit of time with children, time with aging parents, time to teach and to learn and to really live. America's great question is whether we are working so that we may live or living so that we may work. The truth is that we can help to change that. But only if you make a decision to look beyond your world of immediacy, to look beyond the job and the pressures, and to look to what really builds community. Our democracy is only as good as the people involved in it. And today, too many people simply aren't involved, and they must be. Class of 2004, America needs you on the front lines. We need you to give some of your time and your energy to the great cause of reducing illiteracy, of preserving our environment, of providing after-school care so that children can be safe, of helping seniors to live in dignity, of building new homes for those who need them, and that's millions of Americans across our country. And in all of this, building a nation that is really one America. The fact is that this kind of service, you will find, will not only change every American's heart, even your own, it will also change the way America works. More senior citizens will be able to live independently in their own homes instead of nursing homes. Teachers can have the assistance that they need so classrooms aren't overcrowded, and kids who are The most challenged will not be left behind because of the burden of just getting through. We can make the hardest job in the world, being a parent, a little bit easier by giving moms and dads more support in the uphill struggle to balance work and family. And through service, we can help America to live up to the fullest meaning of our values and our traditions in the world. My wife, Teresa, was born in a dictatorship in East Africa. She was educated in South Africa. She marched in the 1950s against apartheid. And she never saw her father vote until he was 71 years old. She first came to know America not as her home, not as a place on the map, but as an idea. It was an idea that inspired, an idea that stood there as a dream, an idea that brought her and millions of people to America. And every day she reminds me of the ideals of America through the eyes of a naturalized American. She reminds me of how people all over the world look to us and the values that they put in us. But in the last days, we've all seen photos of horrific abuse in Iraq, in a prison, which does disservice to the courageous efforts of all of those who serve in the military, and particularly to those families who've made this ultimate sacrifice. Those abuses have done enormous damage to our country. They've hurt us in our objectives in Iraq and empowered those who find fault with America. These events now require us, all of us, to actually work harder to present who we really are. And if you choose to, you can actually be central to that effort. You can do it here at home in the ways that I've described, and which many of you have chosen, or you can do it around the world. The Peace Corps is the most powerful symbol of non-military service in our history, perhaps in the world. And if there was ever a time that everyday people in the most deprived countries, in cities and villages of the world, need to see an idealistic America working to help them, it is today, when we are engaged in a struggle to win the hearts and minds of people all across this planet. Yet today, there are only 6,700 Peace Corps volunteers, far fewer than there were in the 1960s when President Kennedy started it, far fewer than there were when half the world was closed off to us because of the Cold War. We need, once again, for young Americans to commit themselves to serve in a place where they can make a difference. From the Middle East to African nations ravaged by AIDS, to our communities here all across this country. And living up to the real definition of citizenship matters to the hopes and aspirations of people everywhere. So I ask you today, plain and simply, to reject the cynicism that says that you can't make a difference in whatever you choose to do. I ask you to remember the lessons and the legacy that proves the cynics are wrong. We have a Civil Rights Act in this country because people were willing to march and demand it. We got a Clean Air Act and a Clean Water Act because on one single day, 20 million Americans were willing to go out and demand it. And none of you, I know, will ever forget what a 26-year-old minister from Montgomery, Alabama did to help advance the cause of equality in this country. Martin Luther King led us because he individually believed in the possibilities of America. It was an American journey, and he led us from those bus boycotts to the March on Washington to the mountaintop to begin to change the hearts of a divided nation. But that journey is still unfinished, and it calls to you. Women achieved the right to vote, not because it was just given to them one day, but because they fought for it and demanded it. And that journey is still unfinished today. Remember the millions of students who were your age who organized to try to stop a war in Vietnam, and the young veterans who struggled to help a weary nation tired of war keep faith with the veterans who came home but who were neglected. Remember the young firefighters and the police officers and the EMTs who rushed to Ground Zero on 9/11. They stayed and they worked in the rain and in the dark until the last load of debris was carried out. And remember the Americans who woke up on September 12th committed to serve their country in the military, many of whom are in harm's way today in Iraq and Afghanistan. All of these, every single one of them and so many more, are the acts of citizenship and of service. And so, every day, we also know are the acts of individuals in different ways who keep faith with family and with friends. Think of the gift of your own classmate, Michael Alexander Smith, who today receives his Master of Arts in Criminal Justice. He encouraged his mother to return to school, and they relied on each other. And together they received their bachelor's degrees. But that's not the end of the story. He met a young woman whom he also encouraged to come to school here. He married her. He adopted their beautiful children. He became a family, and together they are graduating here today. That is the kind of individual gift that makes a difference to our communities and to our country. And that's how each and every one of you got here today, with the love of your families and the support of those around you. That's how I got to be involved in public service and how I come here today. My parents taught me about responsibility and service, not with their words, but in how they lived their lives. My mother was a lifelong volunteer in our community and an environmental activist long before it was popular. My father was a proud member of the greatest generation, World War II, Army Air Corps, and a public lawyer. And during the war, while he was away on duty and my mother was volunteering, she sent him a letter. And she wrote, "You have no idea of the ways in which one can be useful right now," she said. "There's something for everyone to do." Half a century later, in a very different but an equally fateful time, there is work for all to do, work to build our country, work to build our communities, a place for all to serve, and there is no room on the sidelines for anyone. America needs you. So as you graduate today, I hope you will make a promise to yourselves as well as to the quality of education you've received here at this great institution. Promise your parents, promise the teachers who have mentored and guided you through this university that somehow you will find a way to serve our country, big and small. And don't doubt for one instant that you can't change the world. Doubt those who tell you that you can't. Remember that Martin Luther King told us everybody can be great because everybody can serve. So go out of here and be great, and congratulations, graduates. Good luck and Godspeed.
America.